Hello, we are to number 1. I'm Miranda, and what is a cell? The cell is the structural and functional unit of a living organism. It constitutes the smallest and simplest form of biological organization. Most cells are microscopic, that is, they can only be seen using a microscope. Also, there are also cells that can be observed with the naked eye. Cells can be classified according to whether they have a membrane surrounding the nucleus, called the nuclear membrane. According to the specification, cells can be prokaryotic or eukaryotic. We have that prokaryotic cells are cells that do not have a nucleus, and eukaryotic cells are cells that contain a nucleus. Also, they also have other organelles in addition to a nucleus. The only organelles in prokaryotic cells are ribosomes. There are also animal cells that are made up of a plasma membrane and different organelles such as the Golgi complex, mitochondria, ribosomes, lysosomes, smooth and broad endoplasmic reticulum, among others. And the plant cell, where plant cells are of the eukaryotic type and have a nucleus surrounded by a nuclear membrane, where the genetic material is found. The parts of the cell are plasma or cytoplasmic membrane, which is formed by a continuous double layer of phospholipids and proteins intercalated or adherent to its surface. The cells what that gives resistance and stability to the cell. The nucleus, it contains almost all of the genetic material, DNA, of the cell and is surrounded by a nuclear envelope that contains pores. The nucleus, which is a region in which DNA is found, which in prokaryotic cells is a single molecule with a circular and closed shape. Something important is that the nucleus does not have a nuclear envelope. And the cytoplasm, the main function of the cytoplasm is to support the cell's organelles and help in the metabolic process that occur within it. And there are many more interesting things to learn, but later we will see many more concepts.
Hi, I am Jose David Sánchez Garcia, and I'm going to talk about the characteristics of living beings. The first are made of one or more cells. The cell is the smallest unit of life, and all organisms are made of cells. Some living beings are made up of a single cell, called unicellular. Other organisms are called multicellular because they have many cells. The second, have a metabolism. The term metabolism refers to the chemical reactions transforming molecules to sustain life. Living organisms are constantly degrading substances and replacing them with new life manufacturers. Third, maintain homeostasis. For metabolic process to occur correctly, living organisms must keep several critical factors stable, such as temperature and acidity. The maintenance of internal conditions within a relatively constant range is called homeostasis. The fourth responds to stimuli. Living organisms can perceive and react to changing conditions outside themselves, obtain information from their environment. This ability enables them to adjust and respond to change. The fifth, the fifth possesses DNA as their genetic material. The genetic information of all known life forms is contained within a molecule called the deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. DNA contains all the information required to control the various processes that keep an organism alive and to pass on some characteristics to offspring. The sixth, growth, is a set of changes that occur in an organism until it reaches adulthood. The information encoded in DNA controls the growth and development of organisms. The seventh, reproduction, is when an individual transmits information to their offspring, generating new living beings with the same characteristics. There are two types of reproduction: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. And eight, a pulp. Living organisms form population groups of living beings of the same species, living species living in a particular place. How populations of organisms change over time to better adapt to the environment is known as evolution. Well, we have the difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. The first, the cell is a basic structural and functional unit of all living beings. Cell types: prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cells, they were the first organisms on the planet and are still extraordinarily abundant today. They are characterized by being unicellular and lacking a nucleus and other membrane-enclosed organelles. There are two types of prokaryotic cells: bacteria and archaea. An eukaryotic cell Eukaryotic cells are much more complex than prokaryotic cells, and because they are fundamental unit of organisms, are as based as animals, plants, fungi, etc. The essential difference is that eukaryotic cells have a nucleus. The function of the nucleus is to regulate the activities that take place in the cell. And we have two images. One represents the prokaryotic cell, and the other represents the eukaryotic cells. And we finally the presentation and the topics.
Hello, my name is Sofia Carolina Alvarez Ertuche, and I will going to explain the history of the microscope and the cell theory. Beginnings of the microscope. In the late 16th century, a Dutch father and son pair named Hans and Zacharias Jensen made the first compound microscope. This device made it possible to magnify objects between 3 and 9 times. Robert Hooke designed a microscope made up of 3 lenses. With this microscope, Hooke managed to magnify samples between 20 to 50 times their actual size. Anton van Leeuwenhoek was a master of making spherical lenses of exceptional quality, which he placed between two metal plates fitted with adjustable screws that allowed him to focus the specimen. This design perfected the simple microscope and allowed him to magnify objects 200 to 300 times their original size. Leeuwenhoek found tiny forms of life, which he called animalcula. He was the first to describe that various forms of bacteria found in pepper, water, or scraping of the white matter stuck in his teeth. Hooke and Leeuwenhoek led to the discovery of the cell and microorganisms, which has been the basis for the work of many other scientists ever since. The main parts of the Microsoft are divided into the mechanical system with a base, arm, stage clips, quartz focusing knob, nose piece or torrent, and a tube, and the optical system with the illuminator, condenser, diaphragm, objective lenses, and eyepiece lens. The cell theory is a theory that all living things are composed of one or more cells, the fundamental unit of life, and that which originate from pre-existing cells. This theory was proposed by Matthias Schleiden, Theodor Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow, and is based on the observations of Robert Hooke and Anton van Leeuwenhoek. The postulates of the cell theory. First, all living things are made up of cells. Second, it is the physiological unit of every living being. Third, all cells come from another pre-existing cell and similar to her. Fourth, the cells contains hereditary material, DNA, for all its morphological and physiological characteristics. A fifth postulate is now considered. Dialysis starts in the cell.
Hello, my name is Mauricio Garcia Fuentes, and I'm going to explain the different types of a cell transport. What are the different types of the cellular transport? The passive transport. The passive transport takes substances from an area of higher concentration to one of lower concentration, which is called down the concentration gradient. It is a process in which there is no energy expenditure. The active transport. The active transport is the movement of molecules across a cell membrane from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration, against the concentration gradient. What is the main difference between active and passive transport? The main difference is the passive transport with the kinetic energy and natural entropy of molecules moving down a gradient, and active transport with the cellular energy to move them against a gradient, polar repulsion, or other resistance.
The first, the first topic that I will explain is the levels of organization. A body functions such as maintaining healthy glucose levels, proper temperature, blood oxygen levels, and so on. Really a coordinating system performing the different tasks simultaneously. If we point to the levels that make up life, we could start with a submicroscopic level, such as the atom. These are the levels of organization and start with the atom. A set of atoms properly intertwined will form a molecule. The molecules its turn will form organelles that will be integrated to building the parts of cell. A group of tens of billions of cells with similar functions and the structures performing a particular task is known as a tissue. In turn, tissue are the building blocks of organs, which are complex structures with specific and concrete functions. A group of organs comprise a system, such as the digestive, respiratory, urinary, skeletal, muscular, etc. The second topic is homeostasis. What is homeostasis? It's a physiological system of process constantly measuring and compensating for change in the outside world, what's called damaged internal systems. The feedbacks. Feedback negative. Our skin contains large number of sensory cells that allows us better understand of environment is known as negative feedback. If it receives information about deviation in an parameter, it sends signals to correct it and bring it to its optimal point again. And feedback positive. An example of this nature is during an infection on a bacterial origin. Our body causes increase in body temperature was proposed to kill the organism that produce this infection, which do not resist high temperature. However, this increase produces severe failures in various systems of our body that, if not stopped, can lead to serious damage to certain organs. And this is all. Thanks for watching.
The percentage of teenage pregnancy in New Leon is 15.5%, ranking second nationally. 64% of these pregnancy occur between 18 and 19 years of age. According to WHO, teenage pregnancy represents a serious risk to the health of young women, being the second cause of death worldwide in the age group. Common complications are illegal abortion, violence, school dropout, and maternal and neonatal health problems. 15% of teenage pregnancies in Mexico are unwanted. The main causes are ignorance and lack of access to contraceptive methods. Social cultural norms which are need marrying and childbearing and common are also infringed. Teenage mothers face serious complications such as preeclampsia, eclampsia, and bleeding due to physical immaturity. It is urgent to reinforce effective comprehensive sexual education and reproductive health programs. Drugs and alcohol. Addiction used to be seen as moral problem, but now science recognizes it is a brain disease. Drugs alter the structure and functioning of the brain, preventing addicts from being able to quit on their own. The drugs artificially activate dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitting, causing brain change and reduces sensitivity to well-being. Circuits relate to reward, memory, emotions and decisions making become unbalanced. In 2010, they discovered that addiction to greasy foods works the same way. Activation dopamine, it also performs like gambling and pornography without depending on an external substance. Being addicted is not just physical, it is carry social risks such as harming or others, violence and crime. We need to stop blaming addiction and instead provide them with proper treatment. It is a disease that affects the brain and environment of the person who suffers from it. Understanding and support are key to your recovery. Mexico has the highest rates of obesity in the world. In New almost 60% of the inhabitants are obese or overweight. This causes diseases such as diabetes, heart problems, and hypertension, which are the main causes of death in the country. Recent research shows that the digestive system is directly connected to the brain through neurons. It has even been discovered that the majority of serotonin, which regulates our emotions, is produced in the intestine. Additionally, ultra-processed foods like potato chips lack micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals that our brain needs. Studies shows that a lack of these in the diet causes mental health problems such as anxiety, irritability, and emotional instability. Unless certain micronutrients from the grains and legumes are required for healthy brain metabolism and serotonin production. Foods that are barely consumed in Nueva León. During adolescence, poor eating habits increase the risk of obesity. It is recommended to consume more vegetables, fruits, legumes, and the lean meats and avoid sugar drinks.